"You have 3 days to leave the house," Emma said, swirling her wine like she hadn't just lit a match and dropped it in the middle of dinner. Her tone was sweet, her smile surgical. Mom didn't look up. Dad reached for the salt like it was the only stable thing left on the table. Nobody flinched except me. But I didn't argue. Didn't beg. I simply reached into my bag, pulled out a folder thick with proof and fury, and slid it beside the mashed potatoes. The title deed, still warm from the copier, caught the candlelight like a blade. "Actually," I said, voice low, "you all have 24 hours. Emma's fork froze midair. Mom blinked hard like she hadn't rehearsed this with her. And Dad? He just stared at the papers like they were written in fire. What none of them realized was that while they were plotting how to erase me, I had been writing the ending. Or maybe the beginning of something else. Something none of us were ready for. It didn't always feel like war. This house, our house, was once the place I ran to when the world felt too sharp. The floral wallpaper, the sun-drenched hallway, the creaky third step on the staircase. They were more than quirks. They were memories. My memories. I remember the year Dad lost everything. A surefire investment gone wrong. Half his retirement gone overnight. Mom's medical bills had already piled up so high, the mailbox started choking on them. Emma? She was posting bikini shots from Tulum. She didn't even call. I was 29, single, working freelance design jobs out of the guest room and living off instant noodles and stress. When the foreclosure letter arrived, red, cruel, final. I didn't even show it to them. I just acted. I refinanced the house in my name. Quietly, I signed a loan using my business income. I paid off what I could. I stayed up till 3 a.m. making pitch decks and designing apps for tech bros who forgot my name right after paying me. I clipped coupons. I delayed dentist appointments. I skipped vacations. Every month, the house clung to the edge of survival, and I was the one holding on. Mom and Dad never asked how the bills got paid. They just stopped seeing red envelopes. They thanked God, not me. But I let it go, because I wasn't doing it for thanks. I did it because this place meant something. The burn mark on the deck from the fireworks Dad let us set off one wild 4th of July. The faint green crayon scribble on the kitchen baseboard from when I was 6. The dent in the hallway drywall from the year Emma slammed her suitcase during one of her dramatic exits. This wasn't just a house. It was every version of me I'd ever been. The shy teenager, the dutiful daughter, the woman who waited too long to put herself first. I didn't want to lose it, so I became its keeper. When the deed was officially signed over to me, Dad's hand trembled on the pen. "You sure?" the lawyer asked. Dad nodded. "It's the only way we survive this." I smiled. I signed. And I never told anyone how heavy it felt being given responsibility disguised as gratitude. Emma didn't call. Not until later that night. "Guess who's engaged?" she'd squealed through the phone, showing off a sapphire ring. I didn't mention that I hadn't eaten a full meal in 2 days. She wouldn't have heard it anyway. Or worse, she would have turned it into a joke. That's how it always was. Emma was the center of gravity. The golden child. The cheerleader. The straight-A student. She wore her confidence like perfume, strong enough to fill every room. And me, I was the background music. The reliable shadow. The sister who didn't ask and therefore never received. I told myself it didn't matter. That love was quiet, unspoken, that maybe one day they'd look past the shine of Emma's spotlight and see the soft glow I held. I cooked, I cleaned, I cared. Even when they didn't notice, I let them believe the foreclosure letters just stopped. I let them think the leaking roof magically fixed itself, because love, I thought, meant carrying what others dropped, even when it breaks you. I didn't realize I was slowly becoming invisible. Or maybe I did, and I just thought it was the price of peace. But peace, I would learn, was always conditional. She returned like a storm, pretending to be sunshine. Emma breezed in 2 weeks ago with her perfectly flat-ironed hair, monogrammed luggage, and an aura of entitlement so thick it wrapped around the house before she even crossed the threshold. She hugged Mom like it was a press event, kissed Dad's cheek like a politician, and walked right past me like I was a side table. No hi, no how have you been? Not even a glance. She moved into the master bedroom without asking. I came home that night, and found my parents helping her arrange throw pillows like it was some kind of welcome back special. The same bedroom I had helped pay to repaint after a mold leak. The same one I used to help Mom into after her hospital stays. Gone just like that. She just needs space to recover. Mom said the next morning, stirring coffee she no longer offered me. "Don't make things tense," Dad added without looking up from the paper. Tense. They always used that word like it was a stain I couldn't scrub off. But what about Emma? Her laughter was loud. Her stories self-absorbed. Her mess sprawled into every shared space. They called it charming, healing. I called it familiar. Emma had always had a way of taking up space and convincing everyone it belonged to her. And she did it all with a smile so bright, you almost didn't notice the knife until it twisted. That week, I became a guest in my own home. The coffee pot never had enough left for me. The mail stopped being handed to me, it just piled up. Emma rearranged the spice rack I had meticulously organized during a depressive episode that no one noticed. She giggled. It was chaotic before. "You're welcome." No one asked what I wanted. I stopped saying good morning, stopped eating dinner with them. I worked quietly in the guest room, now my prison cell. I even started locking the door at night, not because I feared for safety, but because I finally understood what it meant to be erased. Then I overheard them. Late one night while I was washing dishes, I heard murmuring through the screen door. They were on the porch, Mom and Emma. "She's always been so rigid," Emma said. "She's just tired." Mom sighed. "And she holds on to things. It might be time for her to move on. She's never really lived on her own." A pause. "Maybe if we ease her out, she'll get the message." I stood there soaked in dishwater and betrayal. They didn't know I was listening. They didn't know the words were already slicing me open. That's when I knew. This wasn't temporary. Emma wasn't healing, she was reclaiming. And they were going to let her. The slow erosion began. Mom stopped knocking when entering my room. Dad referred to the guest room as Evelyn's space like I was a tenant. Conversations paused when I entered a room. Glances flickered. Words tightened. The temperature shifted. And one night I heard Emma casually say to them, "This place is just too much for her alone. I mean, it's not like Evelyn needs all this. She's not even dating. Maybe we sell and downsize." I know some agents. They didn't push back. They nodded. I wanted to scream. But instead, I walked back to my room, sat at my desk, and opened the folder I hadn't touched in months. There it was, the deed, the title transfer, the refinance agreements, the insurance statements, the tax receipts, all in my name. I read every page again, not to remind myself of the facts, but to remind myself that I wasn't crazy, that this home wasn't a gift they gave me. It was a fortress I built when they abandoned ship. They didn't see me as the owner, because they never saw me at all. They forgot who had held them together, who paid the bills, who turned off the lights every night and locked the door so they could sleep safe. They forgot that ghosts don't haunt houses. They build them. I started to withdraw, but not out of fear, out of foresight. I knew the attack would come. The eviction wasn't just an idea, it was forming breath by breath, smirk by smirk. And when it did, I wouldn't shout. I wouldn't beg. I would let my silence speak volumes. And my documents scream louder than their words ever could. I just didn't know the final blow would come over roast chicken and red wine. The dinner was supposed to be peaceful. Rosemary chicken, garlic mashed potatoes, the salad Mom always made when she wanted to pretend things were fine. Firelight danced against the window panes. From the outside, we must have looked like a Norman Rockwell painting. But inside, my blood was cold. I had noticed all the signs. The way Emma circled the house like a realtor before a listing. How she asked questions about zoning laws and resale value like she was doing me a favor. The way Mom and Dad looked at her like she was the future. Like I was just a placeholder until their real child returned. They were going to erase me. Neatly. Quietly. Fold me up and file me under too much trouble. But what they didn't know, what they never cared to ask, was that I'd been preparing long before they started scheming. I didn't confront them. I didn't cry. I did what I always did. I documented, I archived, I prepared. Every mortgage payment printed and notarized. Every tax receipt filed and stamped. The title transfer signed under legal supervision. The refinance approved using my business as collateral. They thought I was just a quiet girl with a desk in the guest room. But in that desk drawer was a war chest of paperwork and legal armor. Every page was a sentence of truth. Every staple was a shield. I kept my head down while Emma started ordering new curtains for a room that wasn't hers. I nodded. While Mom mentioned how nice it would be to have fresh energy in the house, I smiled when Dad said, "It's time we all think about the future." Let them think I was too passive to fight. Let them think I was too loyal to strike back. Because the thing about silence is, it's not always surrender. Sometimes it's sharpening. I stopped making coffee for the house. I stopped refilling the Brita. Stopped folding the laundry when it was left in the dryer. Tiny, insignificant rebellions. Proof that I was pulling back. Piece by piece, I started eating in my room, started walking past them like they walked past me. I rehearsed my lines in the mirror. Not angry lines, not dramatic ones. Just calm, final, irrefutable ones. I didn't want to fight. I wanted to be done. The final proof came a few days before the dinner. Emma was on the phone walking through the backyard like it already belonged to her. Yes, the property's in great shape. Full backyard refinished deck. Oh, and my parents are there. Yeah, for now. I'm just working out a few details. She didn't see me through the window. Didn't hear the way my heart shattered. I knew then she wasn't just visiting. She was staging. And I wasn't just being edged out. I was being erased. So I called my lawyer, asked him to draft an official letter and eviction notice. Not out of cruelty, out of necessity. I wasn't going to beg for a seat at my own table. I packed the folder with the documents, kept it in my bag, waited. And when the moment came when Emma smirked across the roast chicken and said, "You have 3 days to leave," I didn't flinch. I reached into my bag, pulled out the folder, and placed the deed on the table like a sword. "Actually," I said, "you all have 24 hours. The silence that followed was thicker than the gravy on Dad's plate. Emma stared at the document like it was written in another language. Mom blinked. Dad's hand trembled as he set down his fork. They didn't ask where I got it. Didn't ask why I did it. Because deep down they knew. They had pushed too far, and I had stopped playing nice. I slid across more documents, the mortgage payoff, the insurance transfer, the maintenance receipts. "You remember the mold in the basement?" I asked. "The roof leaks. The broken water heater, I fixed all of it. I paid for all of it." While Emma was in Bali, I was on the phone with electricians. Emma stood up jaw tight. "So this is about control." "No," I said. "This is about respect. Something I stopped expecting from you a long time ago." She scoffed. "You're evicting your family." "No," I said. "I'm finally recognizing that not everyone who shares your blood deserves your home." The letter from my lawyer slid across the table like the final piece on a chessboard. Stamped, signed, legal. This is your 24-hour notice. I watched them unravel. Emma's face curdled into disbelief. Mom whispered my name like a warning. Dad looked at the fireplace like it held the answer. But none of them moved. Because for the first time, I wasn't asking for room. I was taking it. No one spoke for several seconds after I issued the notice. The chicken on their plates sat untouched. The wine grew warm in their glasses. I could hear the fire crackle behind me like it was trying to fill the vacuum they'd created. Then Emma stood up so suddenly her chair shrieked against the floor. Her smile was gone. "So this is what you've been waiting for. Hiding in that sad little room, acting like a victim while plotting to throw your own family out." Her voice was sharp now, no silk, no sugar, just venom. I stayed seated. "No," I said. "This is what happens when you mistake silence for weakness." Dad stood next, hands trembling. "There has to be another way, Evelyn." "There was," I said. "It was when you signed the deed over and said, 'We trust you.' It was when I paid the mortgage every month without complaint. It was when I covered your medical bills, Mom, and when I bought you that recliner, Dad, because your back hurt too much for the old one. That was the other way. But you chose this." Emma laughed short and bitter. "No wonder no one wants to live with you. You're impossible." "Then leaving shouldn't be so hard," I said softly. Mom spoke for the first time, her voice small and cracking. "Eva, you're not this kind of person." I looked at her. Really looked at her. She was older now, her eyes heavier, but still refusing to see. "No, I wasn't," I whispered. "But you all made me this way. When you let her speak for you. When you let her rearrange my house. When you sat there and watched her turn me into a stranger under my own roof. Silence. Emma's eyes flashed. I'm not leaving. Then law enforcement will help you, I replied. She stepped forward. You don't get to make that call. I already did, I said. You just didn't hear it until now. She stared at me, waiting for me to flinch, to fold, to offer a softer version of my truth. But I didn't, because I had nothing left to offer. I turned to Mom and Dad. You can leave peacefully, or you can be escorted. But either way, the locksmith comes tomorrow at noon. And then I stood, and I walked away. That night, the house creaked like it was exhaling after years of tension. I lay in bed, eyes open, listening. Footsteps, suitcases dragged across hardwood, doors closing, but no voices. At 10:07 a.m., I stepped into the hallway to get coffee. Dad was in his recliner, the TV off the remote in his hand, like he'd forgotten what it was for. Mom was in the kitchen, wrapping dishes in newspaper. She didn't look up, but she spoke. Emma offered us her apartment. It'll be cramped. I nodded. She added, she didn't mean to. She did, I said, cutting her off gently. And you let her. She didn't argue. She didn't cry. She just wrapped another plate. Carefully. Like it mattered now. By 11:40 a.m., the door opened and closed 3 times. Emma, Mom, Dad, no goodbyes, no final slams, just absence. At 12:03 p.m., I turned the bolt. It clicked. Final, certain. I walked room to room, not searching for damage, just taking inventory of what was left. Dad's cologne still hung in the hallway. Mom's gloves were on the windowsill. Emma's perfume clung to the guest room like smoke after a fire. They were gone. But not really. And me, I stood in the silence. Not victorious. Not broken. Just still. It didn't feel like justice yet, it felt like aftermath. But I knew I had chosen myself. And there would be peace in that, eventually. The first morning without them was terrifyingly still. No distant thud of footsteps. No clinking mugs in the kitchen. No soft murmurs behind closed doors that stopped when I entered. Just the hum of the refrigerator, the whisper of wind against the glass, and my own breath steady but raw. I didn't sleep the night before. I just lay in bed sheets twisted around my ankles, waiting for something to break. But nothing did. I got up, made coffee, sat at the kitchen table they'd abandoned. It felt strange to sit there again, like returning to a stage after the actors had left. Like the air was waiting for someone to apologize. But none would come. I started small. The master bedroom, the one Emma had claimed like it came with a crown. I opened the windows wide, letting the air swirl the curtains Mom never let me replace. I stripped the bed, laundered the sheets, repainted the walls in a soft, cool gray. I removed every trace of Emma's presence. The room became mine again, not because I needed it, because I wanted to cleanse it. I rehung the picture I'd taken of myself hiking in Montana, arms wide open, sunlight behind me, alone but free. Then the hallway. I took down the family portraits, not to erase them, but to stop them from judging me in silence. Each frame came down with a quiet snap, like breaking a spell. I boxed them, carefully labeled the container, memories, not altars. The garden came next. Mom's rose bushes were dying, thorned and dry. She hadn't touched them in years, but she wouldn't let me pull them out. Said they were Dad's favorite. So I pulled them. Planted lavender and rosemary instead. Something that grew quietly, beautifully on its own terms. No drama, just resilience. Every task became sacred. Reclaiming wasn't loud, it was deliberate. I fixed the creaky stair that Emma always complained about. Replaced the flickering attic light. Turned the guest room, once my office, then Emma's private suite, into a sanctuary of creation. New desk, new chair, plants by the window that caught golden hour just right. And slowly, the house stopped echoing with their absence. It began breathing with me. I didn't feel triumphant, but I did feel something new space. Real space. For my thoughts, for my voice, for my damn music, which I blasted as I cooked my own dinner just for me for the first time in years. And then came Tuesday. A white envelope sat in the mailbox. No return address. But I knew the handwriting immediately. That same looping, cautious cursive Mom used on birthday cards and lunch notes when I was little. I stood by the mailbox a long time just staring at it. It didn't hum with anticipation, just heaviness. Inside 2 pages. No apology. She wrote that she forgave me. Forgave me. As if I had sinned. As if defending my space, my labor, my dignity was some kind of betrayal. She said Emma was trying her best, said they were managing in the apartment even though it was cramped. She ended with, "We still love you, Evelyn, even if we don't understand you anymore." I read it twice, then folded it calmly, dropped it into the bin by the recycling. Not as a statement, just as a decision. I didn't need love that came wrapped in guilt. Didn't need a family that only remembered my name when it was convenient. For so long, I begged for crumbs. A birthday remembered. A thank you. A moment of being chosen. Now I was full. The silence that lingered in the house wasn't loneliness anymore. It was clarity. I stood at the window with my tea and looked at the lavender swaying in the breeze. I didn't need closure. I had a lock, a key, and the strength to close the door behind me. Days passed. Then weeks. No knock, no second letter, no dramatic return. Just quiet. But this time I didn't dread it. The quiet became my ritual. I woke early, brewed coffee strong, and stood barefoot on the porch while the light shifted across the garden. I journaled again. I started painting again, badly, joyfully. I signed 2 new freelance clients. My inbox overflowed, not with guilt or demands, but opportunity. It was strange how easily life returned to me once I stopped bleeding it out for others. The house didn't just become peaceful, it became mine in every breath and echo. I moved through it like a woman reborn, unrushed, unbothered. The chipped tile in the hallway, I kept it. A reminder that imperfection isn't failure, it's proof of life. The squeaky drawer in the kitchen still there. A sound that belonged to me now. Even the lemon tart recipe Emma once mocked, I made it. Ate it alone, savored every bite. Sometimes I wondered what they said about me now. That I snapped. That I turned cold. Let them. People who benefit from your silence will always call your voice cruel. Let them call it exile. I call it freedom. One morning, I received a message from an old college friend I hadn't spoken to in years. She said she saw my latest design online. She said I looked happy. I paused. Typed, "I think I am." Not because everything was healed, but because for the first time in my life, the pain wasn't being handed back to me every day like breakfast. I was no longer the family's backup plan. No longer the wallpaper to Emma's spotlight. No longer the quiet girl who kept the lights on while everyone else stole the warmth. Now I was Evelyn, not Evie. Not the disappointment. Not the support beam, just me, and that was more than enough. And have you ever had to stand up to the people who were supposed to protect you? Ever been made to feel like a guest in your own life? Tell me your story in the comments. I'm listening. And if this story hit home, don't forget to subscribe, and share it with someone who needs to be reminded you are not selfish for choosing peace. You are powerful for walking away.